Welcome to everybody, to our members of the public, our staff, colleagues who are here. Now, we've got apologies from Councillor Clove for lateness and Councillor Anai for early departure. I also want to make a note, and I'm sorry we didn't note that Councillor Mike Lee was at the Transport Committee meeting last meeting, so we'll make a note of that. And I need to go on council business at about 10:15, so we're going to tag team it with the Deputy Chair.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I was going to seek clarification today on the whole issue of apologies. I raised it yesterday. Councillor Lee and myself were at Auckland Transport on Tuesday. I might add, there were a number of meetings last year where I was at Auckland Transport, but they were not recorded as on council business. Now, there's a bit of sensitivity around that, what constitutes council business, whether it's having a private trip to the Gold Coast to go and actually have a look at light rail, or whether it is being present at an Auckland Transport designated committee meeting. I would like consistency from here on in on the way that absent is actually recorded. If we are genuinely on council business as part of an organised council meeting, then I think that should be properly recorded. I'm not suggesting we go back through the books and correct all of those, but whether it is a matter for Democracy Services to take greater care on recording committees of the whole, or quite where, I'd just like there to be a clearer line of accountability on absence, please.
And I think my view as chairs, we've been exceedingly consistent, but the responsibility sits with each individual elected member and their CSA, and Tam is the person to whom apologies need to be given, and you know, we can't go and check people's diaries and see where they are. The CSAs are pretty good at saying, Councillor so-and-so is an apology because they're at such and such a meeting, and that's well recorded. But the responsibility is not for Tam to go and hunt that out, it's for the CSA to give that to Tam.
Madam Chair, I completely concur, and my difficulty is not with Tam. I think the issue is about Democracy Services being very clear about the role of a CSA in making sure. It was only yesterday that I read the minutes, and I don't always read them if I'm not in attendance. So it's not just in relation to this committee, it is to other committees of the whole, and I would really like there to be consistency, and would direct the officers actually to speak to the appropriate officer within Democracy Service to make sure that is properly recorded.
Point noted and agreed.
And I concur.
We all concur.
Because I
Never type it.
Oh, and that might include independent Māori statutory board business as well, Madam Chair.
All right.
Thank you. No. Not that everyone could apply to that category, of course. George.
Well, as long as you let us know. Do. You can, and you will. Okay.
You're always here.
But we, in the same token, we had at the last meeting a very clear discussion that we couldn't just put in, oh, my friend's not here, so I'm going to put in apologies. There was a very clear steer given that unless the apologies had gone via the CSA to our democracy staff, that we weren't just going to do a bit of a little wash-up and a friendly nod. So these are what we've received, and that's what we'll deal with. So I'll move those. If there's a seconder, thank you, Member Ngamani. I'll put that. All those in favour, please say aye. Against, carried. Declarations of interest, we haven't had any. Confirmation of minutes, I'm happy to move the minutes of the 10th of May with the note and the correction for the councillors who were at Transport. Seconded, Councillor Casey. All those in favour, please say aye. Against, carried. Petitions, there are none. Public input, there are none. Now, local board, we've got Lisa White here, but Lisa, it might be good if you're happy to just speak prior to the Whenuapai issue. Would work really well because we'll get to that very quickly. Reports pending, pretty straightforward.
Move 9.
Move. Reports pending. I'll second that. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against, carried. Item 10, private plan change. Councillor Darby, you're happy to move.
Or a councillor from that area, if they...
From that area. Tamaki?
I'll move then if this.
Okay, Councillor Darby will move.
Second.
I'll second.
I second.
Remember that we'd make these operative. I'll put that. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried. And we move on to the Whenuapai structure plan. So, Lisa, you're on.
I'm used to waiting 3 or 4 hours.
No,
I've made myself comfy.
no, we're being efficient today.
The structure plan for Whenuapai, speaking at all of the unitary plan committee meetings prior to this, the local board...
Just move the microphone along a little bit, that'd
Sorry,
be great.
I'm not used to not being loud enough. A repeated request from the board was to ensure that we did do structure planning because we have existing issues from the developments around and adjacent to the Whenuapai area. We've got the impacts of Hobsonville and Scott Point coming on, which are just adjacent. We have the issue with the motorway, the road through Brigham Creek, adjacent to the structure plan area. Or right in the middle of it. So we've got all these issues and we've got people travelling in both directions. The report indicates the specific issues relating to the North West Motorway and the traffic problems that Henderson, Massey and Rodney face. It actually goes both ways. The traffic also goes through past Green Heights to State Highway 1. People work in the Albany industrial area. This is it's two-way, so I'd really like to just put my hand up and volunteer to be the political representative from Upper Harbour on the reference group because it's something that we're dealing with issues that are already in place. We've provided feedback to all of the proposed SHAs. We're aware of what's happening out there. So I am aware that it isn't just an Upper Harbour issue, but it sits fairly and squarely in our area and I'm putting up my hand to do my job.
Fantastic, Lisa. Thank you for that. All right, so let's deal with that when we get into the item. Thank you. Appreciate that. Quick input. Well, shall we get into the body of the... Next one. Right, we're in your hands.
Right, good morning, councillors. I've got a brief presentation to go through in terms of a PowerPoint. Really, the point of this report is just to inform you as to where we are with the preparation of the structure plan and to ask that you endorse the use of a reference group of politicians to approve the draft structure plan for public comment, but then the final structure plan will come back to this committee later on in September. So I'll just briefly go through the PowerPoint. So you'll see that the objectives of the actual project are twofold. The first thing is we want to do a robust structure plan, and we want to do that. When I say robust, what we're doing is using the Appendix 1.1 of the proposed Auckland Unitary Plan, which sets out all of the requirements for a structure plan. So there are some pages of studies listed there which need to be done, and it's important, I think, that we do this in a good quality way, because in the future it may be that developers are able to come in and want to do structure plans in future urban areas, and they will have to do it to the same standard. So that first one, the robust structure plan, which is then suitable to go directly into a plan change process, is very important. The second one is that this is the first structure plan under the future urban land supply strategy and under the unitary plan as well. But under the future urban land supply strategy, two areas were marked as being immediate work on a structure plan. That was this area and Pairata. So so this is the first part of that, and Pairata there's some initial work being done, and then that will be followed through as a structure plan as well. Just looking briefly at that map, you can see the area outlined there outlined in red as being the structure plan area. Just a couple of notes there that it doesn't include Herald Island. Herald Island is not future urban in any way. It's urban suburban at the moment, and I don't think you're going to fit too many more houses in there. So that is not part of the structure plan. However, we are consulting with the local community group there because of the implications around traffic in that area. And then you'll see it's really at that intersection of State Highways 16 and 18. So it's almost like an island with some state highways sort of managing access very carefully. So we have to look at how we house a large number of people with and managing the links to the motorway and over the motorway as well. So that's got some significant issues to work with. Also noting to the north there is the Kumu-Huapai Riverhead area. Down here to the west, the west area, where we're looking at places like Red Hills, Westgate, Massey North. Some of those, not Red Hills, but Westgate and so on, significant metropolitan areas in their own right, or will be emerging, and of course Hobsonville Point out to the east. So there's a fair amount there to look at in terms of development already happening around the Whenuapai area. The other point to note is that, which is quite unusual I guess, is right in the middle of the study area, the Whenuapai Air Force Base is there. And our key assumption through this is that the Air Force Base, which takes up about 300 hectares out of the 1,300 hectares total, that 300 hectares remains as Air Force Base, and we are not doing planning which takes that away. So I just wanted to make sure, and in our discussions with the New Zealand Defence Force, they have noted that there are no plans at all to close this. Next one. So we are lucky in doing this structure plan in that there are a large number of past studies which have happened, particularly by Waitakere City Council and so on, but early work through the Norska project, and then work by this council as it started looking at greenfields areas, and in particular there were studies around the future urban areas. So we've also had several other reports which have been done by staff, and they ended up being summarised, I guess, and coalescing into the Future Urban Land Supply Strategy, which you approved last year, and that was where I say there was priority put there on Whenuapai to be development ready. We've also been pretty lucky in that the combination of Auckland Council, Auckland Transport and the NZTA have combined together to do their study in greenfields areas around Auckland, the Transport for Future Urban Growth project, and so they are looking very closely at the transport networks in and around Whenuapai, and we've been able to work with them closely on that, so that's been pretty helpful, and it means that some consultation around transport has already happened, and we're linked in, and the poor old residents don't have to be consulted too many times on the same issue. The most recent work has been done in terms of an SHA which was granted within the Whenuapai area, and you will be aware that a number of other requests for SHAs have been declined by this committee, particularly for want of a structure plan where the bigger picture could be seen, and so an SHA could be seen in context.